Hello everyone and welcome to our new release video. Well, did you know that every new feature we build creates a paradox? How do we make Qonic more powerful without making it more complicated? Well, this month's release is our direct answer to that question. I'm Barbara and we've shipped some major updates to Qonic to streamline your workflow. Well, first of all, you can now create new models from scratch. We've implemented an adaptive sketch grid that dynamically adjusts to your scale. We've redesigned the complete UI and we've improved the deep select. I've invited Sander, our head of UI, to walk us through the philosophy behind the new look. And after that, Jacob will show you how to build a model, well, from nothing. Sander, welcome, and can you walk us through your approach?
Thanks, Barbara. At Qonic, we always believe that BIM adaptation doesn't start with new features, it starts with usability. If the tools require heavy training before it even becomes productive, it already fails part of the mission. That's why user experience isn't just a layer that we add on the end. It's embedded deeply into our product design process. Our ambition is simple but demanding. Build BIM software that feels intuitive from the first minute, lowers the barrier to entry and scales naturally with your expertise, without relying on costly onboarding or specialist courses.
Thank you, Sander. That sounds good. Let's see it in practice, how you create a new model from scratch and how the new UI actually flows.
For this release, we shifted our focus. Until now, a lot of optimization went into workflows around enhancing your imported models. This time, we zoomed in on what it feels like to start modeling from scratch.
Yes, so we can now create new models from scratch in Qonic using this little plus button in your project overview. So let me create a new model here. Or you can give it a tag optionally and a name, and also assign access rights to this new model. So let me just open this new empty model in the Qonic environment.
When you create a new model in Qonic, you'll immediately land on the new sketch plane. We added a surveying setup on a tripod to give you instant feedback on the scale before you even draw anything. The sketch plane itself is dynamic. Zoom in and it becomes more precise. Zoom out and it scales with you. Snapping to the sketch grid is fast and predictable.
Yeah, let me show this in action. So let me just create a new box, a simple box here, and I'll use the sketch plane to actually snap to some of these intersections. So as you can see, I can easily snap to the grid intersections, which in this case have an interval of 1 meter per grid axis. You can also see this actually in the toolbar at the bottom. Currently, my sketch grid has intervals of 1 meter per axis. If I zoom in, you'll see this actually decrease to smaller intervals.
As you can see, we moved the main toolbar to the bottom center of the screen. It sounds simple, but it makes a big difference. Less mouse travel, better reach, and more focus on the model itself. The interactive command center now opens in the same place. Tools, input, feedback, all live in one consistent area. We removed the centric cross-shape navigator. Now behavior-related toggles live in the central toolbar, while visualization control sits in a dedicated toolbar on the right. The idea is fairly simple. If it changes how tools behave, it sits in the central toolbar. If it changes what you see, it's visual and it's on the right-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, to show this in action, let me actually use some of these toggles here in the toolbar at the bottom. For instance, the deep select toggle has now been moved to this location at the bottom of your screen. To reiterate, the deep select toggle allows you to select sub-entities like faces and edges for further manipulation. For example, here I'm selecting these 4 faces to then give them a rotation using the transform tool. Or I can select different edges using this deep select tool, in this case to create fillets on these edges. The deep select also allows you to select faces, for example, to create further offsets from them. So using the offset tool here under the chalk tool, I can create an offset of these faces, let's say for 30 centimeters. And this is where actually a second new toggle is introduced, which is the prioritization of boundaries before faces. So within deep select, you can select faces and edges, but if you have a closed boundary closed by chalk curves or edges of other geometry, you can now prioritize this selection of boundaries, of closed boundaries, using this toggle here. So you'll see if I enable this toggle and move my cursor inside this chalk curve, automatically the boundary closed by this chalk curve will be highlighted, can be selected, and can now be used, for example, to push-pull this geometry out of my base object. Then there's some other toggles introduced here as well, like for example the snapping toggle, turning off all snapping behavior in Qonic, and the grid toggle if you don't want the sketch grid to be visible at a certain time. And then again, all visual settings can be found on the right-hand side. So we have things like scoping, sectioning, saved views, and some toggles around spaces and grids in your model can all be found in this same central location on the right-hand side here.
All of these changes are about making modeling from scratch feel simpler, calmer, and more predictable, without taking away power from advanced users. We will keep pushing in this direction, making complex BIM capabilities feel approachable, not intimidating. That's how we believe BIM becomes truly accessible, not by dumbing it down, but by designing it better.
Okay, thank you guys, and a big thanks to all of you for watching. What we showed you today is more than just a new look. From now on, Qonic is the place where your projects actually start. You don't have to start modeling in complicated tools anymore or wait for someone else's IFC exports to get moving. You can just open the Qonic app and start modeling. We are all really curious to see what you'll build. Head over to app.qonic.com and give it a spin and let us know what you think. Drop a comment on our community page, send us an email, or just reach out on LinkedIn. We'll hope to see you in the app. Bye bye.